sourcing renewable power. Most of you already know us under the Resource Southeast brand event. We held our 4th edition in May this year. It was quite a successful event, sold out for a 2nd year in a row, more than 500 participants on site and online. And today we have the pleasure of having one of our strategic partners for Resource Southeast, Rezolv Energy. And we will talk about how the renewable energy market and the PPA market in specific is developing across the region in Bulgaria and Romania. They recently announced a very good news that Matej will share today with us. And he will also tell us how the market evolved over the last couple of years. What are the current trends? What are the industrials looking for in a PPA generally? And I will have a few housekeeping rules for you since we are using a little bit more interactive format for the webinar today. I will ask you all to please turn off your camera or mic if it hasn't been done already while the presentation is going on. And at the end of the webinar, we will have 20 minutes approximately for Q&A. And you can also type your question in the chat while you're listening to Matej and the presentation for the market. And after that, we will give you the floor to raise a hand and ask a question live if you want to. Since we sent a reminder just a few minutes before the event, a lot of you are using the link to join that have Desislava Mateva for their name. I can ask you, please, if you want to participate in the Q&A session after that. On the right side next to your name, you have a rename option. So please rename yourself to your real name so we know who you are and how to send you after that the recording that we are making today for the webinar. Thank you. That was my short introduction. So Matej, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Desi. So it's a pleasure to greet you all from Czech Republic and Slovakia, from our company Rezolv Energy. We are based in Prague. And just to add what Mariana was speaking about, so Mariana, if you wouldn't tell me about the IT issue with the link, me seeing now 20 the same names on the screen, I would actually think that it's artificial intelligence joining us. You hear a lot about the AI, and I had the impression the AI actually joined our webinar. So if we'll not use all the time for Q&As at the end, maybe we can discuss also the AI and the role in energy. So I don't know, Mariana, if you would like to have some more introductions about Bulgaria and the energy market in general, or you would like me to start directly with the presentation, please?
I think you can start, and then we will discuss the particular markets, the dynamics that we have.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me check the technology, if actually the sharing works. It did when we were testing it. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
So please, Mariana, can you confirm you can see my screen, please?
Yes, it's perfect.
Excellent. So again, good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on behalf of our company, Rezolv Energy, based in Czech Republic. Many of you know that we are backed by British company Actis, which is an infrastructure fund, more than 60 years old. It was formerly a British government development bank for the Commonwealth, and it was privatized during Mrs. Thatcher, and right now it's a private equity. We are investing money on behalf of our investors, which are typically mutual funds, pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign funds. And besides real estate and transportation and infrastructure, we are also investing on almost all continents into power infrastructure. And for European market, Active decided 3 years ago to start a new platform, Rezolv Energy, dedicated fully on Central and Southeastern Europe. What we are doing, we are actually using our heritage from the previous fund, EnerCap, which many of you know. It was also based in Prague. Our founders, Canadians, British, New Zealanders, Australians, they are living in Prague, and we are actually very proud that the previous fund built 8 power plants, totaling 500 megawatt from Poland to Romania. And I will also show you on the map that we are still managing some of these existing wind farms. But our main mission is to build new wind and solar assets in countries of Central and Southeastern Europe. So on this slide, and we are quite proud of it, our main assets are wind ones, because we are I'll say, constructing our presence built on our expertise in wind and solar. So also in our region, we are proud to be building one of the biggest wind farms. So we can start, right? Okay. So thank you, Desislava and Mariana, for helping us to say create the topics. So we'll try to speak 2-3 minutes about the markets, where we are, what's going on. And we are asked to mention and to focus primarily on the case studies, on the PPAs that we sign with the clients. We are very happy to bring to you the lessons learned from the clients. So we will actually be speaking on behalf of our clients and trying, to share the lessons learned. This is what we also do on our webinars that we routinely organize for Central and Southeastern Europe. So if you haven't been to any of our webinars, I can make a short introduction. So then this will be done later. A small introduction of our company. I mentioned Actis, and I'm personally very proud that the ESG standards of quality are among the highest in the industry, and Actis keeps winning the Sustainable Investment Awards. Many clients ask us, why are we building the assets in Romania and Bulgaria? You know that the cross-border PPAs are now the main trend. So even our German clients are actually signing cross-border PPAs with us, where the PPA is based on the assets in Bulgaria and Romania. And we have a very simple answer. I mean, when we were thinking with Actis back 3 years ago, which countries to focus on, there were 2 things. First, which countries are actually offering large-scale projects, and the second thing, in which countries we can have the biggest impact, because actually this is our investment premise. This is the promise we made to our investors, and that is to decarbonize European markets when it makes most sense. As you can see, the map shows the famous Guardian magazine article. We forgot to write down the courtesy. It got lost in the copying. So it was a famous article of Guardian showing a very simple fact, and that is that the air pollution of the small particles is biggest in Eastern Europe. Surprise, surprise, in the countries when the coal is burned for power. We were quite surprised with the Italian northern part of Italy, where the map shows that it's quite dirty. We checked with our Italian clients, and they were also surprised that it's so bad. They were saying that they know that the north of Italy, including Milano, is very much polluted, and children do have problems breathing. But they are claiming, as Italians, that it's not due to their heavy industry in the north, but actually it's the bad air coming from the whole Mediterranean and from Balkans. So this is another reason for us to actually decarbonize Southeastern Europe, because it can have a big impact on the other countries too. In overall, we picked in general Central Europe and Southeastern Europe. So our aim is to build in the next 5 projects from Baltic Sea to Black Sea. From the past, our previous fund in 2010 built 8 farms, mostly wind, and we are still managing some of them. They are under government subsidy, and we are managing them as operators. We are building 4 major projects, which are wind and solar in Romania and Bulgaria, and we hope to add a few more next year. As some of you know, we are in construction of a large V4, 450 megawatt wind farm in Romania, which is under construction, and we are almost at construction with our Bulgarian project. We actually started the construction. We are waiting for the formal approval by the regulator for the, let's say, the financial plan. We are planning to build more wind farms in Romania, and we are also focusing on Baltic states when it comes to wind. I mentioned that we are organizing webinars also in Central Europe. So for those of you which haven't met us yet on our other webinars, this is a short introduction. Typically, the clients ask us in countries or regions to speak about decarbonizing their supply chain. Some of them want to go into, let's say, macroeconomic detail, and some of them just require general webinar on market fundamentals of power. And some of them also ask us about our experience on the capex prices of both wind and solar on-site solutions. So if you'd like to join one of our next webinars next week, you can join our webinar about how to mix your on-site solar with an off-site wind PPA, because many of you might have a tough target by your headquarter when you are being asked to decarbonize 100% of your power emissions, while it's quite complicated to do it when you also build your own on-site solar. So this was the introduction. Let's jump into the markets, and please feel free to ask any questions, as Mariana said. So we are usually starting with a few seconds showing you the development from yesterday. So the left chart shows how much the market moved yesterday. So as you can see, around 3% increase of both gas and power. Then the guarantees of origin from old hydro assets in Norway are still around €1.65. And table spreadsheets on the right side, they are showing the natural gas in the middle with monthly granularity, because we understand many of you don't have access to the monthly granularity of natural gas. And then also electric market in Germany, which is the market setter for also the regions of Southeastern Europe. If you analyze the German price of power on the right side, you can see that for more than 5 months now, the winter prices are in the range of 100 and 110 euros in winter for the next few years, and summer prices are oscillating in the range of 65 to 75 euros. We are being asked by the clients also to show us the PPA prices from third-party vendors. So this is a public report. You can also access it yourself. Very fresh report from Schneider Zeigo, which shows the average price in PPA negotiations on a Zeigo portal. Again, it shows Germany as the market maker for also our region. So in summary, the solar PPAs for 10 years, base produced, go for around 67 euros. And the wind PPAs in Germany go for about 85 euros. For comparison, we also added the prices for previous quarter, which were almost the same for solar and a little bit higher for wind. Not wasting our time for our lessons learned, let me please share a few more slides about what we, let's say, found interesting in the market. Now, as you all know, solar cannibalization is now a topic. So 2 years ago, only traders knew what solar cannibalization means. 1 year ago, the skilled procurement managers and advisors knew what it means, and now even grandmothers on bus stops, as we try to joke, know what is a solar cannibalization. There were even tabloid articles or television spots when actually the public is now worried about the increased rate of solar production in hours when actually the market doesn't need it so much, especially during the weekend. So this chart usually shows what is the new market of electricity hour by hour. So the dotted line, the red one, actually shows the price for a typical day. How expensive is the electricity? As you can see, around midnight, let's imagine the prices start in the middle ground, and in the early morning when the factory starts to let's say to ramp up, the price is higher because the demand is higher. But then, despite of the fact that the factories are running, we have too much solar in most of the markets of Europe, from Netherlands to Bulgaria and Greece. So the price on a typical working day at noon is very much lower than at night or during the day. And the peaks right now, especially in summer, when the air conditionings need to start to ramp up, is around 18 o'clock to 20 o'clock. So the countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Italy, and Greece, they are now struggling with increasing prices in these evening slots. You could probably see also that the price can be as high as 500 euros. So this is a new world. 2 years ago, the public didn't know about it. Now procurement managers are very, very skilled at this. So they analyze strongly how to hedge their portfolio with a solar PPA or a wind PPA. Coming back to the main topic of this webinar, again, please, in previous slides, if you saw something interesting and you'd like to ask a question, please don't hesitate to write it in the chat. We'll try to reserve as much time as possible for the questions and answers. So let's move to the lessons learned. I will start with the one conclusion from our side. All the developers would probably tell you the same. If you want to sign one PPA, you better ask 100 clients, because the success rate is very close to 1 to 2%. So I will just repeat: if you want to sign one PPA, you need to speak to 100 potential clients to have a chance to sign something in the next 2 years. This is surprisingly low on one hand, but on the other hand, if you had experience as salespeople from other sectors, this is perfectly normal. So we do believe that the PPA market is not different from IT or services or anything else. When you are trying to sell a complicated structure, it gets time and efforts to actually land a deal. We try to conclude with our successful clients what made them sign and what made them make the decision to commit for a very long-term commitment. A long-term PPA for 10 years can mean a 50 million or 100 million euro contract, which can be one of the biggest contracts the board of directors of a client has ever approved on. So this is the list. So, and if some of you are thinking about the green PPA for the next 12 months, please take this as the lesson learned from the market. So if you really want to succeed and in the end have a signed PPA after the hundreds of hours you will spend on it, it's great to have a purchase strategy upfront. So you should know what is your target and for how many years can your management actually commit. Second, almost all the clients which signed a PPA actually had an advisor, be it for 10,000, 20,000 or 200,000 euros. Because your top management will require a third-party assessment of risks of this PPA. So it's not about they don't trust you as procurement teams, but they actually need third-party confirmation that it is a good deal. The third point was good to have are the internal approvals for your PPA process of procurement beforehand. So this ensures you that before you actually start negotiating a PPA, you already have a sponsor in the board of directors. We had so many clients which we negotiated it on working level. We met, for instance, also the upper management, but when it came to board approval, they didn't get it. And the reason was they didn't get the internal approval prior to the whole process because they didn't get a sponsor in the board of approval. The next point is that the successful PPA clients actually analyzed their residual risks. So they didn't just sign a solar PPA and said, okay, we decarbonize. They analyzed what does it mean. Can they actually hedge more power when it comes to more than one tenth of the consumption? So either we can support our clients, or they will onboard external advisor, or they actually can build their in-house expertise. It's not that complicated. There are very simple Excel models that we can help the clients actually to set up. It's quite easy and quite straightforward. And the last one, to be really sure during the negotiation of PPAs at the beginning, what PPA alternative do they want? I mean, we get so many questions from buyers which come repeatedly and say, Mate, you're offering to us a pay-as-produced model, but we really need baseload. At that moment, you just lost a few months because the client didn't understand that the market has moved. So the PPA alternative should be clear to buyers at the beginning. This was the first slide we wanted to show to you as lessons learned. Please, if you have questions, write them to the chat. And now coming further to the customers from Germany and Central Europe, some of them from Southeastern Europe. The first lesson learned we saw is that actually there is usually a conflict between a local team of the buyer and the headquarter. And there are cases when the local team was pursuing a PPA and didn't get it approved in the end by the headquarters, or vice versa. The headquarters wanted a PPA and the locals just blocked that. So as a result, it seems that the market requires now that headquarters are trying to negotiate PPAs for their subsidiaries. Very interesting trend, especially on the platforms like Schneider and Level 10. You can see many clients, many headquarters trying to negotiate a deal also for their subsidiaries. Another lesson learned that our clients are telling us, and we see it on the market, is that actually the smaller buyers, which are buying, let's say, 10 gigawatt hours and less per year, they understand that they have very small negotiating bidding power, and they realize there are almost no offers, but they really want a wind and solar PPA. So the market requires now to develop a standard contract template for smaller volumes for clients which don't want to read a 100-page document and spend 100,000 euros on lawyers. So the market actually requires now a template, a buyer-friendly template. And there are several of these developed by third-party advisors. They are not EFET contracts, and we believe this is a step in the good direction. Third lessons learned we wanted to share is that approximately half of all the clients have CFOs which simply don't want to do hedge accounting for PPAs, so they are insisting on physical PPAs. It took some time for the market to realize that a physical PPA is something different from a direct PPA, when actually you have a solar farm next to your factory and you actually have a direct cable. So the market now understands that a physical PPA can be coming from an asset which is quite distant from you, but in the end, it will be delivered to you through a physical contract with your electricity supplier. And as a result, under IFRS rules and IAS rules, you don't need to do the hedge accounting. So 2 years ago, it started as a niche segment. This year, we see it as 50% of the buyers require a physical PPA, and the reason is hedge accounting. If you want to talk more about hedge accounting, we have dedicated sessions and workshops. We are happy to talk about it with you. Another point of lessons learned are that, for instance, supply chain groups in automotives, they really want to decarbonize also their smaller suppliers, which even don't have an energy procurement team. So now there is a need for multi-buyer PPAs, especially with automotive. So this is another market need, and it's good to know that developers actually found a solution. So these multi-buyer group PPAs are now a trend, and I'm sure that on the next energy conferences such as Resource Amsterdam in 4 weeks' time, where we would like to invite you everybody, the tickets are for free. Not from us, but from the organization, and it's the place to be if your company wasn't to decarbonize power. We believe it will be a trend. So multi-buyer group PPAs, when several buyers will join, they will negotiate, or one of them will negotiate a standard contract, and they will then sign it with the developer. And the last one is the business case. So I don't know how about you, but 4 years ago, Europe was talking about renewables and PPAs about a noble thing, when companies like the data centers simply sign PPAs to support projects. It's still the truth. And more companies, not only telcos, are signing PPAs, but it's not enough to offer them a great project and hoping that actually they will just sign a PPA. No. What clients want is a business case. So I think it's great to see that around the whole world, and on behalf of Actis, our mother, well, I can also tell you that we speak to commercial teams of our colleagues in South America, North America, Africa, and Asia. It's always the same. So a long-term PPA offers to you typically a 15% discount to baseload market futures. So when a client signs a long-term PPA, there is a clear business case on the table, and typically top management has a big motivation to sign it. So if you recalculate it, and we did it for so many clients already now, if you sign only a tiny PPA for 10 gigawatt hours per year, you will save more than 300,000 euros for the first 3 years. That's a huge budget. And for some clients, especially in automotive, they told me, Matej, but this means that I will have a budget for my sustainability projects, because some of you which are here, you already concluded so many sustainability projects, and efficiency projects. You already picked the low-hanging fruit, but now you are facing the dilemma. The next step, sustainability projects, they cost money. And management usually doesn't want to give their equity money, and the banks are telling you no when it comes to sustainability projects. So this is what we learned as a feedback from the market, that a good PPA brings more than 300,000 euros for every 10 gigawatt hours per year. And this budget can be used by the companies, by the buyers, to actually trigger more sustainability projects, which will improve their operations. So we believe this is an unexpected feature of the PPAs. I don't know how much time do we have, Mariana. Can you please help me to navigate? So my clock says I'm speaking for 17 minutes now.
Don't worry, Mate. Let's go through the important stuff.
Okay, right. So 8 more minutes. So, some of you might know, we finally announced several PPAs which we signed. In the next week, we will announce probably the biggest PPA. So therefore, I can present that the names we are proud, which are working with us and enabled our big projects, are the automotive Bekaert, the telecom company T-Mobile in Czech Republic and Slovak Telecom in Slovakia, the Irish glass company called Arda Group, the biggest glass manufacturer, and next week we'll announce a huge deal with a European utility. In general, the deals which we are negotiating in the final stage and final round, and we will announce them in the next 5 months, are all from these four sectors. So it's automotive, telecom, manufacturing, and utilities. And when it comes to active negotiations, when it will be beyond, let's say, March next year, the other sectors, which I didn't mention yet so far, are cement, retail, data centers, and steel. What we try to offer to clients which are still hesitating and, for instance, are not yet engaged in PPA negotiations is that we offer support. We offer workshops, educational workshops, when we try to explain to them what are the benefits and risks of PPAs. So if, I don't know, if the attendees today are from sectors, from these 8 sectors, and if you have not yet started to think about PPA, we are not saying that you will sign a deal with us, but we are very happy to give you the case studies we created with our clients from this sector. So if you are a steel company, we are very happy to show you why our other clients from steel sector think that it's a good thing to think about a PPA. What we are showing here is that the case studies are so different when you split them into how do you talk to headquarters, how do you talk to local teams, and how do you talk to the regional teams. As mentioned, sometimes there are even 3 teams of the same name, of the same manufacturing company, and you need to deal with all 3. So again, if you are a corporate buyer and you are struggling in, for instance, getting support or communicating internally, we are very happy to show to you the case studies. I was asked to, let's say, bring a few feedback on the key drivers. So one of the questions we got from hesitating buyers that why do your buyers sign a deal with you or with other developers? Because as you know, there are hundreds of deals every year in Europe. So we try to think of the volumes we sign with each client, and the bigger volume, the bigger priority. So the highest volume PPAs we sign, the clients claim that the only reason they sign is that they want to decarbonize the region. Of course, they are getting the business case and they are saving a lot of money. But in the end, they are signing the deal because they want to decarbonize the Southeastern Europe, because it is their strategic priority. The second biggest reason when we do the volume merit order is the RE100 membership. So simply the clients are joining RE100, they are complying with the rules. They are doing it, as I can quote them, because their clients are actually asking them to join RE100. And based on that, they are looking for a business case for a green PPA, which enables the building of a new asset. And the last group of companies is much broader. So they are signing our PPAs because they decided to be a member of Science Based Targets initiative. And actually, they don't want to sign a PPA in Germany or in Spain, but they want to sign a PPA in Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, countries where it actually will decarbonize the power sector. This continuing slide, why Rezolv? Why actually they decided to sign? So not bragging ourselves, but we found out that they like our portfolio of assets, which are both existing from the past and under construction. They like the idea that we actually have the aim to build in all countries of Central and Southeastern Europe. We started with Romania and Bulgaria. And their CFOs really appreciate the fact that Actis is our parent and that we can actually provide securities for the firmness of the starting date of the COD. We are quite proud of the products we designed. With every new negotiation, we are fine-tuning our product range. So we found out that the combination of wind and solar with the support for hedge accounting and other analysis is the winning strategy to land PPAs. If somebody would ask me, what are the challenges of signing a PPA? And I can tell you some of the PPAs can take more than 1 year. The key challenge was to reach an early agreement on the term sheet. So a 10 to 20 page document which summarizes what are the commercial terms. The second was even though you already agreed on a term sheet, and if some of the companies present today in the audience are in the process, please raise your voice and share your lessons learned. It's still a very tough job to negotiate a CPPA. I mean, it can take more than a year. Even though you agreed on a term sheet, the PPA is a longer document, and your internal teams, believe it or not, legal, tax, and accounting, they can try to improve the deal. And if in both parties, these teams will try to improve the deal, then you have a mess, and there are a lot of battles, in some cases more than 100 open issues, and then you need to manage the work streams. So, and this will be probably the last slides of the lessons learned before I will switch to the case study of Deutsche Telekom. The ultimate driver of those cases, when we actually sign the deal from both parties, the buyers are saying that they signed a deal because their negotiation leader was focused on the deal. They were really focused on signing a deal in the end. They were fighting hard. They didn't take, they didn't give in, but they wanted the deal. And the second reason for us and them to sign a deal, because there was a strong project behind. And at the moment of signing the actual PPA, the project had already a good progress, and it was on time. So please, again, if you have any questions, please share them. And I will spend the last 2 minutes of my time sharing the details of case study with Deutsche Telekom. Again, if some of the buyers in the audience would like to discuss more PPAs, let us do it bilaterally. Please reach out to us. So Deutsche Telekom companies in Czech Republic and Slovakia decided to decarbonize. They are members of RE100, and they tried for 2 years now to look for local projects in their countries. Because of the permitting processes and the small size of the projects, it was difficult to find project with a COD of sooner than 2027, for instance, and almost no projects for wind. But since in these countries the project will be much smaller, the price could be easily 50% higher. So therefore, the companies in the end admitted that the cross-border PPA with Rezolv is a good solution. So both telcos are actually happy with our solution, and we are bringing the wind from our Danube wind project in Romania, and we are solving a few issues. I can share also the challenges and the solutions. Again, if you have questions, we can discuss bilaterally. So, of course, it was a big challenge for both parties to acknowledge that the RE100 actually calls for AIB certificates. And right now, Romania and Bulgaria is not yet fully in AIB, especially for the electronic transfer. So the solution needed to be found so that the buyer's needs are actually met. The second one was that the profile of the solar and the wind in Czech Republic and Slovakia, they're actually much worse than the one in Romania. So this brought additional value to the client, which they were in the end able to trade for other features which were important for our banks. And the last one is the list of the risks. So the base risk, the currency risks, the parties needed to find a common solution. So I think I will stop now, Mariana, and I will give the word back to you. This is a slide on hedging. You all get that, and this is our contact. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I suggest to start the questions and answers.
Absolutely, Mate. I think that you covered every question that came to my mind during the conversation, but still, I would like now to invite everyone on the call who is willing to ask their question live. You may raise your hand. In the middle of the screen, you have a lovely heart and reactions underneath. And through that button, you can find the raise the hand button and give us a sign that you want to ask a question live. Or you can type it into the chat where I recently asked you to do so, and also to kind of remediate a little bit of a technical glitch that we have, since we sent a reminder with the link from the profile of Desislava. So now half of you are kind of named Desislava Mateva. And if you can rename yourself to see who is actually on the call, or if you want to raise a hand to ask a question, maybe to give you like break the ice, and I could start first with the question. It's kind of, you touched upon the topic actually, that concluding a PPA in Eastern Europe is actually bringing much more benefit in terms of sustainability, since this region the development of renewable energy assets brings much more value since it displaces fossil fuel generation from the mix. And it's also a little bit lesser known topic and still something that is new to everyone on the power market. So the learning curve is really steep for a lot of the companies that are looking into that direction. And I really appreciate the work that Rezolv Energy is doing to educate on the topic and speak really freely on the concerns that industrials are having. On the topic of multi-buyers and credit ratings and financial stability of both sides, when you conclude such a long-term contract, because most of the PPAs are, we are looking beyond the 5 year period, what can you single out as, I know, the main concern that banks are having on multi-buyer
Thank
contracts?
you. So, what we were able to achieve, and I guess most of the developers will be able to achieve, once you reach your financial close with a dedicated amount of energy already pre-contracted with let's say creditworthy buyers, you still are left with some uncontracted volumes, and for those, the banks would let you to sign them with let's say the smaller volumes with a predefined credit support. So either the buyers will invest, which probably is not the case in our region, or the buyer is able to provide a 12 months bank guarantee credit support at signing of the PPA. This is in our experience sufficient for banks to approve a PPA with a counterparty. From the point of view of Southeastern Europe, we are very happy that after 2 years, all the banks are finally on board. So 2 years, I would say, in Bulgarian banks were very advanced. I mean, they were on the same page as the Western European ones. But in Romania, we are facing banks which we need to learn. They were used only to the government feed-in tariff and CFDs. So I would say in Bulgaria, your banks were already there. Right now, the region is being joined by new global banks. So I would say there is a lot of liquidity. So if there is a good shareholder, good sponsor, a good project, and you have creditworthy buyers, then you will simply get the financing. If you want, I can also try to answer the questions which are on the meeting chat. I can see it. If that's okay for you, can I go ahead?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first question from Pavel, please clarify the role of sponsor. We meant a decision maker on the buyer side, so a member of your board of directors, somebody who wants to decarbonize. We saw it in every single case of our PPAs which are signed, and those of them which are in the last round. There was always a CEO, a board member, or a vice president which decided he or she personally wants to help decarbonize Europe, and they were sponsoring the deal. So when it came to the final approval in the board, they convinced everybody in the room, please vote yes. Because in the end, every PPA needs to be approved in your board of directors because it's probably the biggest contract you ever signed. The second question was about hedging from 70% to 100%. Exactly, this is the strategy we see around since, let's say, 2 years ago. So clients decide to do first 70% because they are not sure about their production capacity and consumption capacity, so they keep some flexibility. And when they are coming closer, they hedge the rest. And this is also what we offer to the clients. Once they sign a long-term contract with us, we are very happy to sign another 1, 2, or 3 year contracts when we are getting closer to the period. So it's a very standard solution. We strongly recommend it, so that you are not facing, a volumetric risk on your side when your factory, for instance, shuts down part of the operation. And the next question of Pavel about the cross-border PPAs, if they are backed by CFD. I understand the question is if the project needs to have a government CFD to allow also PPAs. So not really. I mean, our primary premise is to build projects which don't need government support. But that's what our investors would want us to do. So this is what the industry is doing in Western and Central and Southeastern Europe. So those clients which are signing PPAs, they actually expect us not to sign the government-backed CFD schemes. I hope, Pavel, that this was answering your question. If not, please feel free to write it down. Thank you. Mariana, back to you. I don't know if there are more questions or we'll conclude.
I don't see any new questions in the chat, but as I said, if you want to come live, you are pretty much welcome to do so. Just raise your hand and we'll give you the floor to ask the question live. You touched a little bit on the cannibalization. I hate this term. I prefer to call it a solar duck because it kind of gives you the sensation that you can find a solution to hunt the duck. And actually, most of the
Okay,
markets
nice.
have already um, kind of devised different solutions to how to overcome the problem. Would it be a portfolio, a mix of assets that you can kind of offer not multi-buyer but multi-asset PPA, let's say, behind a portfolio? And the other one is storage, adding to a PV or wind profile to kind of firm the production profile offered to the client, a different type of PPA structure. What is your opinion on this as a developing trend? It is something that we already see on the more mature markets where storage has entered through different revenue streams, and now also co-location is becoming more and more um, not a rare option, but basically becoming the mainstream for new projects that are just starting development. But what about the current market situation? Are there actually such offers on the market? And what is Rezolv Energy strategizing in that field?
Mhm. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. All the developers and us and all the big developers in Western Europe are looking around. What is the whole world doing? Just 2 weeks ago, when we were in London with our headquarters Actis, so we got the announcement that our chairman signed a big deal with the government of Philippines when the Actis will build 4 gigawatts of storage and 4 gigawatts of solar, when they will together provide a block of peak power from the morning till late evening, like a 12 hours block. And this will be there for, I believe, 25 years. So we were surprised with the deal. We didn't know about it. You can find it in the news. And maybe this can be a sign that actually the governments, not even the clients, will try to stabilize the grid using solar and batteries. At the moment, we understand the battery market as the market for smart investors. In my city, there is even a billboard saying, invest in a 500 kilowatt battery. We will just bring to you the container, you pay the money, and we'll operate it for you. It's now becoming an investment tool, which is quite surprising, right? Because 10 years ago, people will be buying stocks of Intel and iPhone. Now they have the chance to buy their container battery for 1 million euros. So we believe there is a trend of there will be players, and who is fast enough, they'll earn a lot of money with a payoff period of 2 to 4 years. And we believe that in 10 years' time, hopefully the European market will saturate a little bit and this duck curve can stay as it is. We personally don't think that the duck curve will improve to the former profile. We have experience from Chile when Mactis was one of the first players there, and in some other regions when simply if investors will build too much solar, the market will not absorb it, and the TSO will in the end curtail it. So we are afraid that for solar projects around Europe, especially the countries from Iberia, Spain to Greece and to Bulgaria, the curtailment rate can be as much as 20%. And it will be up to individual investor, developer to invest into a battery and actually use that power, which would be otherwise curtailed, and store it and try to recover some of the revenues. So I would say it will be a game between investors, which are just building standalone batteries, earning a lot of money, and operators of storage solar projects, which simply want to save the project, not to go bankrupt if they didn't contract it yet, and trying to improve the profile by batteries. Right now, we don't have a solution for that. We have so many clients asking us that if we sign currently a pay-as-per-use PPA, that's fine, we sign, but they come back to us and say, we are offering to you 5 to 10 euros more if you actually share the benefit of the battery and main storage. I would per se that probably the market will evolve in a way that parties will agree on some kind of a profit sharing rather than increasing the fixed price of the PPA and improving the profile. This is my modest assumption. Spanish market is a little bit different, but that's probably for another webinar. I can also see another question. I don't know if we have a little bit more time. I'll just share once again one slide. And this one. So we believe that the combination of assets of wind and solar, when actually the client is choosing the proportion, if the deal is big enough, we believe this is the way forward. So wind is stochastically, spread over the day. Majority of wind production is in winter, which is very good complement to solar. So this is what we also understand from clients. They now know these curves. They understand that they should do either no PPA at all or do both wind and solar. So typical combinations for clients which want to create an almost base load, it will be from 50-50 to 20-80. It really depends when the client has got 3 shifts or also works during the weekend and during the night. So this was it. I tried to answer the question. Back to you, Mariana, please.
Excellent, Mate. I think that you answered thoroughly the questions. I had one, I think that was to myself, but it was meant to be to everyone. How exactly the combination of solar, what you just answered, brings us closer to a baseload profile. And this is exactly the difference of time profiles for generation for solar and wind, and of course the seasonal variation, which is also captured when you have different assets contracted under PPAs. So that question is, I think, answered. Anyone else want to ask? We have, I think, about 10 minutes more left.
I can see one question from Pavel again. So currently in Bulgaria, there is a huge spread between peak and off-peak, and wind assets prefer to sell over the exchange, and they don't want to go into a long-term contract with a fixed price. So this is from Pavel and his experience. Thank you very much for this question. So in my opinion, if I know the wind operators in Bulgaria, their farms were built with a subsidy, with a premium. So actually they are motivated to sell on the exchange because the prices are high enough for them. And they prefer a 1-year position when they will just sell everything on tomorrow's market. Some of them might be selling it on 1 year, let's say, period. I do believe that there might be some wind assets that you can reach out to try to fix a price for 1 year with them. So it will be most probably a fixed fixed and physical PPA. So a little bit more complicated for you and your supplier, but I think it should be doable. Right now, if you're asking me about their motivation, they will achieve higher revenues if they are just on spot market on the exchange, rather than if they would agree with you on a fixed price for next year, I don't know, 90 euros or 80 euros, because you will be both looking at the same price of the futures. They want to earn slightly more and you want to pay slightly less. So there is probably a discrepancy. Good luck. There should be somebody.
And I just want to add that new wind assets are just coming up the pipeline. It takes a little bit more time to develop wind projects than solar. So now I think interest will naturally go to wind assets in Bulgaria and the region, since solar developed quite well. Actually, we doubled, more than triple, I think, this year the capacity for 3 years. Not bad for a small country like Bulgaria. And it's the general trend in the region as well. So and now wind and storage will be targeted, really, I think. And we have a few more questions. But you answered those. If the hedge 70% of my yearly consumption, yeah, I think you
I maybe can comment on the wind assets and the reason why it takes more time and efforts to actually build them. So in our opinion, and what we share with all the developers around the whole Europe, is that the permitting is just much more complicated. So what you don't have in solar projects, you have much extended environmental assessments, including the bird protection. So you will most probably spend 12 to 24 months just to observe the migration of birds by third-party experts from well-known universities, and they will then develop a plan that which turbines you need actually to move away, and in which night hours and in which parts of the year you're actually stopping the turbine. And our clients are very surprised. This is actually the reality, and it's a very good thing that the wind industry committed to help the environment to actually stop the turbines in the main season of migration of the birds. So the casualties are now much lower. But this contributes to the fact that the permitting is much longer, at least by these 2 years. In addition, in our experience, the local communities, despite of the fact that they share the profits of the power project, of the renewable asset, locally. So the village actually gets money, gets support, and many villages actually like wind projects because finally people will stop leaving the village. They will find work there. Still, the wind turbines are seen very similarly to a nuclear power plant, even though they are two different assets. But still, if you realize that the wind turbines are now at the height of 160 meters, and the rotor of the turbine blades is actually twice the jumbo jet. People are scared, especially if they never have seen this in practice. So even though you are 5 kilometers from the village, part of the village can say no because simply they are afraid of the new thing. So you can do whatever you want. You need the approval from communities, otherwise it doesn't make sense to try to build a project. So that's the reason why a typical wind project takes 7 years to start into a construction. And if you start looking at 100 wind projects, you probably will end up with 10 after a few years, which makes sense. Then you will spend a lot of time and efforts to get all the permits, and you might get 3 which have the fighting chance to start building. So the banks are there, technology is there, but it's more like the local communities, and it's their right, it's their land. So if they don't want the wind asset there, they will never have it there, which is fair. Thank you very much, Mariana. Back to you. So I don't know if you want to wait for more questions or if we shall wrap up.
Well, I think that we can wait for one more question to come from the audience if anyone wants to ask. Do you have any strategies how to mitigate this? Not in my backyard, thinking about renewable energy, and perhaps just share some. You mentioned stakeholder engagement and community engagement on site. Is Rezolv doing anything in that direction with, for example, the wind project in Romania?
Thank you very much for this question. So I didn't prepare a slide for it. I'm very happy to talk about it and to invite everybody to have a bilateral session. So well, we are so happy that finally this year buyers start to ask about the ESG parameters, because last 2 years they were just asking for the price and the project and how firm is the COD and the credit support. This year finally, let's say 20% of questions are about the ESG. We have buyers when one full workshop for 2 hours is just about the ESG. And we are very happy that we belong to Actis, which have one of the highest standards. And recently, Jennifer Boca joined us. She recently worked in Africa on projects when it's extremely impossible to build anything unless you find an agreement with the local communities. So what we are actually doing for all our projects, and it's also not only us having the drive, but also our banks, including the World Bank, IFC, and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. The rules are so tight, and it's good. And the requirements are so high for our cooperation that actually it's the communities which are also suggesting what measures shall be done to the whole land, to the whole plot, to the whole environment. So it's not only a new school or a new road or a new municipal office and people having a work, having a job in the project, but it's also actually improve environment. So we are building, for instance, on one part of the land when it's completely devastated agricultural land. For the last 5 years, nothing was growing there. And we committed to a plan actually to recultivate. So there will be, either solar panels or on the other lot, the wind farms. And our aim is to bring grass there and try to have local farmers having cows. So it might be laughable for some people that why does a private equity take care? Because we believe it makes sense, and we believe with every single new project and every single new platform of Actis, we are spreading the good word. We are actually improving the overall culture of renewable developers, and this is what our fund committed to. And it is a similar thing to Norwegian sovereign fund. Probably many of you know that one of the reasons why your companies are now having better loans, better financing, if you commit to ESG targets, it's because the Norwegian fund started to say, I think 10 or 15 years ago, that they prefer to invest into shares which will commit to sustainability. And this simple thing is changing the culture and actually the world. So we hope that our higher ESG standards will also bring other developers in our region to actually do better than just to build the asset and take the money and go to the next project. Again, if the
Great
buyers in the audience
closing
have
words, I
questions,
think,
please.
because I don't see any hand raised or question in the chat. So I think that we exhausted the topic quite extensively in this webinar, and just want to thank you, Matej, for the nice talk today, for giving us so much details on how developers, how customers thinks on the other side, and how we can meet in the middle, or not in the middle, but balancing each other's benefits. In the
Thank you
end,
very
that's
much.
the target.
Thank you
Thanks
very
to
much for the
all the
invitation.
participants as well, to who attended today's webinar. You can follow Upste and Resource Southeast on LinkedIn. We are soon to announce a date for the 2025 Resource Southeast event in Sofia again. And we will continue the campaign with such interesting topics throughout. So make sure you follow us. Thank you for the participation today. I really enjoyed it for our conversation, Mate. So looking forward to the next big announcement on your assets in Bulgaria and Romania or elsewhere in the world.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you, and we hope to meet you on the next webinars and conferences. Thank you very much, Mariana.
Thank you too. So we're ready to close now.
Bye.
Bye.